Good afternoon. I promised you guys a training or some information on narcissism last week, and I meant to go live last week, and then I got busy. So here I am because I promised it. This is a really, really important topic, I think, and some of you may have been concerned that you're narcissists because maybe you've heard that word a lot lately. It's a word that keeps coming up a lot, or maybe your wife has told you that you seem narcissistic. So let's talk a little bit about what it means, because it's actually a very it's a really big word, and it's a really big thing. And the truth is, not many guys are actual true narcissists. So I want to clarify for you guys what this term means. All right. I was on a group coaching call yesterday, and there was a woman on the call and two other guys on the call, and both of the men said that they're in coaching for their relationships, and both of the men said that they realized that they had been abusive toward their wives at some point in their marriage. And so they're in coaching now to understand themselves and to understand their relationship. And they went on to talk about some of the things that they've done, and the things that they've said to their wife, and how they've neglected her needs and just been mean at times. And interestingly, I was talking about how these guys were actually in coaching, and they had also been in counseling before. And the thing is narcissists, well, there was the woman who was on the call, her husband had actually refused to go into coaching with her. And he was also telling her that if she just get rid of the coaching, get rid of he's refused to ever go to counseling with her, and just listen to him, that they could fix their problems. And this woman also went on to talk about how he speaks to her. Oops, let me turn off my notifications. The kind of things that he says to her. And one of those things was he had told her that it didn't matter, and excuse my language, but it didn't matter how much of a dick he is to her. She's supposed to have sex with him because she's his wife. And interestingly, the men on the call who feel like they've been abusive to their wives, they reacted to this and basically said, no, I would never say something like that to my wife. Yet both of these men, I think, feel that they have these narcissist traits. So it was really clear to me that these guys are not narcissists, but very likely the husband of the woman on the call, he very likely is narcissistic. And she went on to talk about how he has no empathy for her, and she's fearful. She's literally fearful of him at times, fearful for her safety and fearful for herself emotionally. And we all go through that sometimes in our relationships, where we feel more emotionally unsafe. Physical safety, fearing physical safety. If you have ever felt that, or your wives say that they're afraid of you, then that's a red flag. But so let's talk about narcissism. So narcissism is a spectrum like anything else. And true narcissists have what we call in the mental health profession narcissistic personality disorder. And these individuals, I've got my notes here, and I'm just going to go over some traits of true narcissists. So one of the primary traits is an exaggerated sense of self-importance. So this grandiosity, this sense of I'm better than anyone else, I'm better than you, I'm superior. Some narcissists feel like they have more intelligence than others, even when they don't really have education about something, they still feel very superior. And that's not the same as just kind of being a little full of yourself. And confident, self-confident, superior, like above the law, above the rules, above the parking space, where do you, if it's a handicapped parking space, I don't care, I can park here. Just very superior. Hey, Eugene, Glad you're here and listening. If you guys have any questions, definitely put it in the comments, and I'll talk to you. So going along with that superiority, there's this sense of entitlement, and some of us might say that our millennial generation's a bunch of little narcissists, and some of you are millennials. But it's not that kind of entitlement where you get nothing for get something for nothing. It's literally a sense of I'm owed things from, like this guy. This guy is owed sex from his wife just because she's his wife. And even though we may feel like, yeah, that's part of a marital partnership, you can't just treat somebody like crap and then say, well, you're still, you're my wife, so you still have to have sex with me. I don't have to make any effort here, and I can be a total ass to you, but you're still supposed to have sex with me. That's that entitlement. A lot of narcissists really need excessive admiration. That's different than wanting approval from others or needing affirmation. Wanting approval can be unhealthy, but we all need affirmation. But narcissists just crave it like a drug. And if they don't feel admired, if they don't feel revered, then it can be very triggering to them. So back to the superiority, sometimes they feel like they need to be recognized in times when they don't even deserve it. They're not deserving of recognition or appreciation in some way. Oftentimes, narcissists will exaggerate their achievements, like they may inflate their resume or boast about things to people, and exaggerate their accomplishments. I knew a narcissist once who he would tell people that he had all these jobs. He'd say, I had 4 job offers last week, but actually he had 4 recruiters contact him about potential positions. They weren't actual job offers, but he exaggerated that to make himself look and feel more important. Again, looking over here at my notes. Sometimes they're very preoccupied. A narcissist may be really preoccupied with appearances and beauty, and maybe very vain, and really pay a lot of attention to what they wear and looking chic, and even concerned about what their family wears and how their family looks, and their wife, how their wife is dressed, and how's that going to look? How does that appear to everybody else? They oftentimes will monopolize conversations. So if you're in a conversation with a narcissist, you might talk about your day, and their response may be like, okay, well, what about it? Let me tell you about mine, or let me talk to you about this thing that happened at work today. Very little back and forth dialogue and conversation. Usually conversation revolves around them and their interests, their work, their job, their fears, their concerns, and there's very little, if any, empathy for others, and or even interest in the lives of others and what's happened for them in their day, or their concerns, their fears, their interests. So if that conversation with a narcissist is just going to feel really one-sided. Narcissists really will take advantage of others in a heartbeat. So kind of the cliche of a used car salesman who really has no qualms about selling a car that's falling apart to a single mom, and knows that when she's going to get 20 miles down the road, she's going to have a mess on her hands. A narcissist won't have a problem with that if he can get the sale. Narcissists have no problem taking advantage of other people. And they can't, because they can't really recognize, or they don't care. There's this apathetic apathy toward people. Sometimes they're very envious of others. They can be very envious, very jealous of others. And this can make them come across as very arrogant and haughty, and just very self-important, like I was saying before. And because of this vanity and this envy, they may want to have the nicest things, nice car, nice home, and they really want to look really good. They're going to compete with the Joneses for sure. A narcissist is also going to get very impatient and angry very easily, can be easily triggered by their kids, by their wife, by people who don't cater to them. A lot of times you'll see them job hopping or be, they may job hop, but they also may get fired for insubordination in their jobs because of that sense of self-importance when they haven't really earned it. Narcissists are going to have a lot of trouble with interpersonal relations, as you can imagine. For all these reasons that we talked about, they're going to have a hard time in relationships because they don't know how to understand the needs of others, and their sense of self-confidence and self-worth is very, very, very low. Even though they've got this inflated, grandiose sense of self, their self-confidence is extremely low in reality, and their self-worth is really low, and they're projecting all of this outward in order to try to make themselves look confident and to feel like they have worth. So someone with narcissism, they're literally going to leech their worth from others. And so the term narcissist comes from a poem, I think, where the Narcissus looked and saw his reflection in a river, and I think he got really captivated by that reflection. He was captivated by his own beauty. I think I'm remembering that correctly, that's where the term comes from. So a lot of times narcissists will attach themselves to someone that they can see, kind of feel like they're being reflected in that person, and they're going to try to get their energy and their worth, their value from that person. So if you're in a relationship with a narcissist, you're going to feel like the life is being sucked out of you because they're going to need you to be to be a reflection of them and not have your own identity. Oftentimes narcissists really will struggle with depression and anxiety and some of the mood disorders. So I've gone kind of down the clinical, and I'm going to stop looking at my notes because I just want to have a conversation with you guys about this. If a lot of this resonates with you, it doesn't necessarily mean you're a narcissist, okay? And if you have any concerns about that, just reach out to me. Let's talk about it. But honestly, the fact that you're here in this group is a pretty big indicator that you may not be a narcissist, because you're looking to improve your marriage by being here. You're looking to be self-reflective and to try to figure out how to make things better. And most narcissists don't ever look at themselves, and they don't seek out coaching or counseling for self-improvement. So I doubt that any of you, there may be some of you in here, I don't know you all, but if you're regularly looking at yourself and how to improve yourself and how to improve your relationship, and you can see some of your faults and some of your mistakes, and even though it may be like, oh, that hurts and I don't want to be that person, the fact that you can see it and you can acknowledge it means that you're not likely a narcissist, almost definitely not a narcissist. Now, some of you, let's talk about your wives, because some of you have come to me and said, I think my wife is a narcissist. It's possible, but I'm going to say, for the most part, when we look at gender, men typically are the ones we see that are the more narcissistic. Women also can have personality disorders that are similar to what we just talked about, but women typically have something, if they have these traits where they really have difficulty connecting in relationships, and you feel like that energy is leached out of you, it's a whole other different type of personality disorder. And I think that's probably another live for me to do with you guys. And so if any of this sounds familiar to you in reference to your wife, drop a comment, shoot me a message, and let's talk about it. So I hope that this has helped you understand narcissism a little bit more. I do want to say that all of us have some of these traits in us. I mean, all of us, a lot of us can feel lacking in self-worth and self-confidence, and we can feel feel full of ourselves sometimes. We can look for our value in the people that we're with. That's super common. But that doesn't mean that you're narcissistic. A lot of these things, some of us monopolize conversations. I'm guilty of that sometimes myself. But if I stop and say, you know, if someone's like, hey, I want to talk, I can absolutely, I mean, I'm a therapist, I'm a coach. I can absolutely stop and listen to who I'm talking to and what they're trying to say and listen. And if you're capable of that, Eugene, you're saying that this all sounds familiar to you and to her. Okay. If you want to talk about it, shoot me a message. Let's talk about it. But going back over some of these things, if you recognize a few of these things in yourself, yeah, I don't want you to panic and go, oh my gosh, I'm a narcissist. But let's talk about it. Let's figure it out. Let's figure out what it is, you know, what these traits are and how they're affecting your relationship. And we don't even have to call it narcissism or not. But if you have these traits and you're struggling in your relationship, it's important to figure it out, to figure out how to fix it. So, guys, it's Thursday. You may not be watching on Thursday, but I hope you have had a great week. I hope this was a little bit helpful to you in understanding narcissism. And like I said, drop a comment here about what you think, or shoot me a PM if you want to talk. Have a good one.